Hello there. What is going on, my friends? Today I'm going to be doing an Imperial Fleet build that is a little bit different than some of the other builds that I have been doing lately. And this one is going to have a decent number of squadrons in it. And I want to do something squadron heavy, but it's not going to be a Sloane fleet. This is I'm going to be kind of using some of the new Clone Wars cards and seeing how those might work in a squadron heavy build, and it's going to feature an Imperial 2 Star Destroyer as our flagship, because the Imperial 2 might, while it's not as flashy as the Psy Moon for those long range shots, it does have an awful lot of upgrades that are baked into it that really work well with some of the new upgrades from the Clone Wars stuff. So if you guys are new here, you can enter to win that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Also, I'll probably focus a little bit more on starter builds or cheaper builds for a lot of the factions that are out there, kind of using stuff that either comes in the core sets or a lot of stuff from the upgrade card collection if somebody doesn't have all of the new Clone Wars stuff. So I'm going to be trying to do kind of a series of kind of beginner builds also. This one is not particularly a beginner build, though. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about what I want to do here. So one of the reasons I chose an Imperial 2 is I want this one to be kind of the main ship that goes forward, that one that gets attacked a lot, and have it the ability to salvo. And so for my look, I know that a lot of people love ECM, and ECM is absolutely important, but I want to tempt you into attacking it, so I'm going to give it reactive gunnery instead. Also, this is going to be a squadron heavy fleet, and so I have a lot of points that are really hard to allocate, so every point matters in this build. I'm not using every upgrade slot available. This is going to be a salvo-centric Imperial 2 Star Destroyer, and so that's one of the reasons I like reactive gunnery, is that I can spend any token to do it, and then so it gives me, you'd have to have 4 accuracies really to stop me from salvoing, whereas if I just went with something like local fire control, then a single accuracy would stop it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give this flak guns. Flak guns is going to give me basically 2 black dice instead of 2 blue for my anti-squadron, but it's also going to let all of my blue dice be used at long range. So now I have a full 3 die salvo attack at all ranges, which is really, really nice. And to make that a little better, we have a nice cheap DB827 heavy turbo laser, and that is going to let one of my dice be changed to a crit, which means when I am salvoing, I get some so basically some guaranteed damage, which is also very, very nice, because that one red die has a tendency to not want to roll favorably for me. So that's kind of part of my mitigation for that. So really good salvo machine right here. Although I'll admit I would like it a little better if I had the points left over. And of course you can tweak this build and you can change it up. I could tweak this build to also give it local fire control, so I'll have the ability to salvo twice. I can totally do that. There's actually a lot of reason you might want to consider doing that, but I'll walk you through the rest of the build, and if you want to come back and make this change, you totally can, but it might mean dropping something, might mean dropping a squadron, and while this is cool, I have a feeling a lot of people will just be deterred from attacking this ship at all and just go on to the other ships, so that's why I kind of want to make everything else strong. So let's go ahead, and also my commander here is going to be Tarkin and not going to be Sloane. Not that because I think Sloane is bad. Sloane is great. I just think Tarkin got a points reduction lately, and I think he's more worthwhile, and he gives your fleet generally some flexibility. He's one of the first commanders a lot of people ever used in this game, and now he's cheaper, and he's still good. He just still gives you a ton of just regular flexibility. He gives you some built-in protection for a lot of different effects that are going to mess with either command dials or other effects. So I really like him, and it's just as simple as that. We are going to also run a Gozanti. I'm going to give this Bomber Command Center, because we're going to run some bombers. Bomber Command Center is especially good for the Empire. The bombers typically have only 1 die So, they don't have those really strong bombers as some other factions do. So, we really need that bomber command center more than ever. And I am going to I'm not going to have all bombers, though. I'm going to put some interceptors out there. So I'm going to run reserve hangar deck on this ship. And then moving up, we're going to have one more ship. And this is going to be something really cool. You may have seen me talk about this before, but we're going to run a Victory. Also a decent ship. I want to have this one maybe a little bit behind the ISD, which shouldn't be hard since that's a little bit slower. And I am going to give this Admiral Chirano. This guy is going to be pretty much a dedicated carrier, but Admiral Chirano makes up for one of the really big shortcomings right now, is that intel was changed pretty significantly, and he still kind of allows your squadrons to move even if they're engaged, as though they had a printed speed of 2. So he's going to let your bombers go ahead and do their bombing. And the reason I went with a Victory here, as opposed to something like a Quasar, is because of the excellent title Corruptor. So Corruptor is going to have great synergy with Chirano, and it's going to say, for a squadron command, the speed of each squadron with bomber you activate is increased by 1 until the end of its activation. So what does this mean? It's quite simple. I have some TIE bombers. They're going to want to do some bombing, but you sent an A-wing in to tie them up or something like that. No problem. I can now utilize Chirano when I do a squadron command. I've got 3 squadron on the Victory, so I can take 3 bombers, fly them away from the A-wing at printed speed of 2, but +1 for Corruptor. So I can actually move my bombers away at speed 3, which is pretty decent, and is oftentimes going to be enough to get me a shot at an enemy ship. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. Now it's on to the squadrons. We're at 280 points, which leaves us with some points left over for... Oh, I have one more thing I'm about to say. I have an officer. I want to put Emperor Palpatine on the Imperial Star Destroyer. Another deterrent for attacking my flagship. So I think a lot of people are going to try and go towards the Victory, and that is also going to give me some of the strategy there, because I now have some knowledge of like what they kind of have to do. They have to go for these 2 ships. So if I kind of put the ISD up front, they're going to have to go for it. I'm also going to give the Victory one more thing, reserve hangar decks of its own, because like I said, I'm going to have some TIE interceptors in the mix, and this is going to kind of let them live a little bit longer. So that's everything. Now we're at 286 right now. I'm going to add squadrons, and we are going to be using 4 different types of squadrons. Let's start off with the TIE bombers. I chose to go with 4 TIE bombers, primarily because I have 2 Imperial 2 or Imperial 1 squadron packs. So basically, I only own 4 TIE bombers. So that's why I'm going with that particular number. I'm going to add in some other bombers, though, because I don't want it to be only bombers. I want some just overall excellent squadrons that are useful in all situations, and that's going to be the TIE Defenders. I'm going to run 2 TIE Defenders. I do want some regular squadrons to help survive also, and I'm going to run 2 TIE Interceptors. Boom, boom. And then I have enough points for 3 more TIE Fighters. Now here's where we get into the variations of this build. 3 TIE Fighters makes this an odd number of squadrons, right? So I've got 6 bombers right now and 5, basically fighters. 3 fighters and 2 interceptors. So this gives me 11 squadrons. And what I really want is even numbers usually. So I could potentially drop that down, but the problem is I've got a lot of squadron commands. TIE fighters die really quick, so I want as many as I can have. I want the interceptors to kind of be saved for either the clinch long-range attack, or to be used when they're within range of the Gazanti or the Victory, so that I can get them back after they die. And having extra TIE fighters is going to help that. It won't help me as much in deployment, but it's nice having the extra squadron there, and I wanted to go kind of heavy squadrons. You could easily drop 1 TIE fighter here, puts your bomber fleet at a little bit more risk, not too much, you could easily drop one TIE fighter and add a couple of those upgrades that we were talking about. Could go ahead and put local fire control on there, and then have a little bit of points left over for something else. You know, there's definitely a lot of little things that we can squeeze out on some of these. Maybe something like where is it? Point defense ion cannons or something to that effect. So there's a little bit of flexibility here, but this is kind of the list as I have it right now. Now, for objectives, we're going to go with the surprise attack, because nobody ever chooses that. Now, granted, there's definitely options. There's a lot of options here. Most Wanted, you know, is nice when you have a Gazanti, but Most Wanted doesn't help a Squadron heavy fleet as much, because it's going to give my ships. The original versions just said when attacking a ship, the attacker may add a die, but it's only attacking ships can add the die. But I also think it's possible to think about something like advanced gunnery to let my ISD attack twice. But it's not crazy for me because I'm going to be doing squadron commands most of the time, and I really don't have a whole lot of offensive upgrades for my own shot outside of salvo. So for this one, I just decided to go with surprise attack. It really doesn't help my opponent, and it lets me potentially shut down enemy squadrons from coming in, or kind of slow down their raiding mechanics, and they generally don't like that. And it lets me potentially launch squadrons on them much sooner than I would have otherwise. For yellow, I want to go with an oldie but a goodie that I haven't used in a long time, and that's going to be Hyperspace Assault, because I have a victory that I might want to deploy, behind enemy fleets, even if there's a lot of squadrons around. I have Chirino and Corruptor, so I could take the victory and 3 bombers and launch a hyperspace assault and basically warp in that slow victory anywhere I want, especially putting him in black dice range of enemies. So I thought that much is really cool. And then for our blue, since I do have so many squadrons, I'm going to go with superior positions. This is going to let me rack up a ton of extra victory points by sending even the TIE fighters that happen to survive back behind enemy ships, making sure we do some damage, we get those rear shots on, and let those bombers kind of wreak havoc. Plus, I get to set up everything, so that's always a certain, or I get to set up after. So that's always a fun one. And that's going to do it for the build. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments section. This is just kind of a fun one. We could make some tweaks. Let me know what you would change. And again, I know that Sloan is fun, but this one has got a little bit more bombers, so I didn't really think Sloan was appropriate. Plus, I'm afraid sometimes that Sloan is getting too popular, so I kind of wanted to change it up a little bit there as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons for always continuing to support the channel. That's wonderful. And I just want to remind you guys that if you're going to blow up any planets, make sure you evacuate them first.